Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Sense of Things with Jeff and Ron here. This will be a quick one today. I'm going to be actually doing most of the talking because Ron can't quite hear me as well on his computer. He'll respond if he can. If not, we'll just get through it. This is going to be a really short show where we're going to cover a little bit of the economics that's going on right now, but I wanted to start off with some fun stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on in a second. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning. I know you got a lot of good stuff today. So what do you have?
Let's take a look here. I've got some fun things that we can talk about. Give me 1 second to bring these up here and share. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So I have 5 fun facts that we're going to talk a little bit about today. First off, spring fever is real. As temperatures rise, our bodies produce more serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone, making us feel happier and more energetic. Scientists believe sunlight exposure and warm weather contribute to this natural mood boost. No wonder we're all feeling a little bit more lively in the spring. Now, the people in the Midwest are not feeling so lively right now because they're getting pounded by snowstorms.
Love it.
And did I see it that you guys are starting to get your rainstorms out there? Or
No, we are expecting some rain, I think, today. It was weather the last 2 weeks was beautiful. We got a kind of a dip in temperature this week. Tomorrow it's only supposed to be a high of 51.
wow,
Still comfortable for me being an East Coast guy, but
yeah,
in the next couple of weeks, it's going to start shooting up into the mid to high 80s,
yeah.
which it's okay. It's springtime, right? That's for everybody, including us in Arizona.
The big rodent said we had 6 more weeks, and we're getting 6 more weeks until spring. All right, daylight savings times equals more spending. Studies have found that people spend more in the spring and summer months compared to winter, meaning longer daylight hours and improved moods tend to increase shopping, travel, and entertainment spending. The retailers love this. So hopefully we start to see a little bit of a bounce in the market because people are shelling out some more cash.
Yeah, you know what? When we do away with it, it should be interesting.
No kidding. All right. The stock market spring effect. Historically, the stock market tends to perform better in the spring compared to the winter months. Investors feel more optimistic. Tax refunds fuel additional investments and consumer spending. So I think I would agree with that. And it's typically what I see is people start to get out there and shell out some more cash. So hopefully that means that the market, as we roll into the spring months, get past the tax day, we'll start to see people shelling out some cash again.
Yep, I love it. Again, we have to get through the first 3 months.
Yep.
March and September and October are the 3 worst months of the year. Typically, March and October are the bottoming months, so we shall see.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get through some of this craziness and get into the point where we don't have the distraction from the market. All right. Spring cleaning started as a necessity. So the tradition of spring cleaning dates back centuries when homes were heated with wood and coal. By March and April, houses were covered in soot and grime, make it perfect time for deep cleaning. Nowadays, it's more about decluttering and getting a fresh start and getting your evil raccoon to do some cleaning. My evil raccoon got up on my roof and ripped the entire ridges off of my house. I'm not exactly a big fan of raccoons at this point.
Now, you think that's a real video or is that an AI generated one?
I don't know. It seems like it's a real video because it appears as if it's just dragging the thing along with it. Probably stole it and is trying to get away with it. All right, last but not least, spring babies are more likely to be CEOs. According to a study published by the Journal of Social Sciences, people born in March and April are more likely to become CEOs
Oh,
or
that's
hold
interesting.
leadership positions. Something about springtime magic, maybe. I was born in December and I'm a CEO. So I don't know. I'm a weirdo. So I don't know.
I have no response to that. I have no idea.
All right, let's whip through some quick economics. This is this week's economic calendar, Econo Days, where I get all this. There's a whole calendar of these things, and it helps to go through these and just see what's going on. Interesting to see that the ISM manufacturing index is still hanging in there. Everybody's had this belief that it was not doing real well. It's underperformed for the last 6 months, but it's holding really where the consensus is, and it's holding slightly above that 50 line, which means that the companies are still building. They're just not going massively that direction. We'll see. I think, this quarter is going to be an interesting one. A lot of these reports that we get, maybe for March, you may see some of that effect that Ron was talking about in the previous.
Also, if they bring back more manufacturing to the States, or they decide to ramp up more manufacturing, meaning if they already have a factory here, just increase capacity, the PMI should definitely stay at or above 50 for a while.
You would think, you may see a much higher as a result. I think this was probably the biggest one yesterday that came out, ADP employment report. This is usually the public sector employees more than what the full economic report is. But consensus was 162,000, range was 140 to 300. Once again, it's just like driving a truck through it. Actually came in at 77,000. So that concerns me a bit, because I was hoping that as the government pulled back on employment and hiring, that more of that would roll into the private sector, and it's proving, at least in this report, to not yet be there, and not exactly the trend we want to be on. We need to be getting more people hired, especially if we have more people that are going to be unemployed as a result of government employment.
Agreed.
Yep. All right. Boo, international trade and goods. This came out this morning. Much, much worse than we were expecting. So it kind of fuels more of the tariff talk of saying, hey, we're moving in the wrong direction. The revised number was 98 billion. The consensus was 123 billion negative. We came in at 131. So we were significantly below, or right outside the consensus range, which once again, you could drive a truck through. Not a good trend to be on. Tariffs may have an effect on this, but it kind of fuels the people that say we need to have tariffs, fueling that talk, is what I would say.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for years, I don't believe any of these jobless claim numbers.
Yeah.
They're always revised, and they get thrown. The market gets thrown around by these things every Thursday.
Yep.
We obviously have a employment report tomorrow, and I think that either will considerably either back up the narrative of the Atlanta Fed GDP number, or completely prove it wrong. It can't be in the middle. It's got to be one way or the other. So that's why these Thursday job claims, I remember for a long time, very quickly, these things were rising every single week, and then you get the monthly employment number and it would go down. I'm like, how the hell does that happen? So these Thursday numbers, unless they're completely out of whack one way or the other, I don't even pay attention to them.
Yeah. And I would see these rising. They're going to have to go up. You've got government contracting dramatically. That's going to start adding to jobless claims. So I don't necessarily have a lot of concern here. We know these are going to go up over time, as long as they don't get out of hand. I agree with Ron. It's one of those things that you just don't see. I don't think they have as much effect on the markets, as well as I don't think they have as much effect, or they're as telling. We know they're going to go
all
up.
the numbers are revised, but this number is a weekly number, and it never seems to aggregate into the monthly overall number. So again, I don't know how the sausage is made, and I'm tired of trying to figure it out.
I'm with you. This was an interesting one. On the Econo Day calendar, it was listed as not that important, but it was interesting for me. This was Q4 2024, productivity and cost. And it was interesting because if you look at non-farm productivity, that actually blew out of the range. And this, I don't even think anybody even mentioned this, but this was interesting to me. We were outside the range, 1.5% up, which is great, meaning we're getting more productivity out of the people that are there. But here's the interesting part. Unit labor costs came down dramatically. They were expected to be 3%, and that was the consensus range. They came in at 2.2%. So getting more productivity and employees costing less as a result of it, I think it's an interesting trend. It doesn't bode well if you're getting paid, or if you're not getting paid as much, but it bodes well that we're getting more productivity out of the worker, which that's been lagging pretty significantly coming out of the pandemic.
I agree.
Last but not least, Ron let in about this employment situation. We've got that employment number coming out tomorrow. Consensus range, once again, you can drive a truck through about the same as it was with ADP, 130 to 300. Consensus is supposedly coming in right around where ADP was, about 160,000. My guess is it's probably going to come in around 70 something. So I would not expect to see that drop pretty dramatically, because once again, the federal government, although in certain positions they're hiring, we're seeing it from our testing center, Secret Service, we're seeing like military testing and stuff like that we do. Those are on a rise. We're seeing more and more people coming through with those, but not some of the other testing that we've seen. But like transportation security and all that, those guys are hiring like crazy. Some of these other departments are contracting. So I think this is going to be a little crazy for a bit, and not as much hiring coming out of the private sector as we would hope. And if government's not backstopping that, I could see these numbers coming down maybe in half from where they are.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll have some fodder for next week.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming in every week and watching these. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we will be back here the very next time.